Hello everyone, it's time for a classic. But not a classic quite like you remember it. You'll see what I mean about that. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I just recently got through playing through this for the first time for myself, actually, as many years late as this is. I'd seen bits of the game before, but never the entirety of it, and certainly never played too much of it myself. But, yeah, just recently I finally sat down and went through it. But not this version of it. I used a fan retranslation, which ended up applying. That only applied to the Japanese version of the game, so I ended up with the Japanese voice acting, which was kind of cool, honestly. But I figured I should also play the original version and experience the classic North American dub. That early PlayStation CG didn't age terribly well, but the atmosphere and music were still good. I have a nice appreciation for this little opening segment here, because I didn't know about it back when I used to see, like, this part of the game in videos and stuff, but before I actually played it for myself, I did play through a couple other Castlevania games, like Castlevania 3, and in particular, Castlevania Rando of Blood, which for the longest time I didn't know was like a prequel to this game, so it's cool to go through that right before playing this.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
It was not by my hand that I'm once again given flesh. I was called here by humans who wish to pay me tribute.
Tribute? You steal men's souls and make them your slaves.
Perhaps the same could be said of all religions.
Your words are as empty as your soul. Mankind ill needs a savior such as you.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. How about you?
The voice acting is kind of cheesy, but works. It's like cheesy in a good way. It can be a little harder to take too seriously though, but interesting thing with the translation of everything. If the fan retranslation is to be believed, then some of this stuff is kind of strangely changed and inaccurate. And like, it still works well. It's still, the script is actually better than the voice acting itself in a way, but could be better at some points. And it's weird how different a couple parts are. One thing I'll give props to this translation for, though, is that even if it's not quite reflective of the original dialogue, I think that the whole "but enough talk, have at you" line, that part I actually unironically think is pretty cool, and not even, like, cheesy. In a way, in fact, I would argue that the Japanese line at that part of the conversation is cheesier than it is here. Enough talk, have at you is just actually really good.
No, it cannot be!
Yeah, get wrecked, Dracula. It was Richter Belmont, the legendary vampire hunter who succeeded in finally ending the menace of Count Dracula, lord of the vampires who had been brought back from the grave by the dark priest Shaft. However, one night 4 years later, under the glare of a full moon, Richter mysteriously vanished. With no idea of where to begin her search, Maria Renard set out to look for him. It was then that fate intervened. Castlevania, the Castle of Dracula, which is rumored to appear once every century, suddenly materialized out of the mist as if to show her the way. Meanwhile, powerful forces were struggling for the soul of a man named Alucard, the very same Alucard who had teamed up with Trevor Belmont to battle his immortal father, Count Vlad Tepes Dracula. Alucard, in order to purge the world of his own cursed bloodline, had submerged his vampiric powers and entered into what was supposed to be an eternal slumber. But now he is awake and aware of the evil once again at work in his homeland. The time has once again come for the forces of good and evil to engage in their ancient battle. Dracula's castle beckons for you, and no man can say who shall emerge victorious. I know a lot of different people have their own preferences on whether they like the person doing a video to actually read out text that's on the screen or not, and I get kind of both sides of that argument. But I get, like, I've always done it for my videos, I guess, so people who typically watch my stuff are used to that. Plus, I know some of my viewers sometimes tune in with my stuff in the background, not necessarily fully watching and paying attention, which means it's kind of convenient and helpful if I actually, read text so they don't have to, like, stop and look at the video if they were using it in the background more than anything. Anyway, if you're really familiar with how things should be, you might notice something's off already. Ah, yes. Perfectly ordinary starting equipment. Yes, Alucard comes to the castle wearing a useless ring that is useful only for the monetary value of selling it. Perfect. So I'm playing a randomizer. Since I just got through playing through this game in its entirety, and I pretty much found everything too. I found a lot on my own, but I did need some help. I looked online at a map to help me find an extra, like, 4.3% or so of map that I missed. Just so I could get the best ending after I had gotten what ending I got on my own. But, so I basically know where everything is, then, as long as I don't forget anything. So I figured a randomizer would be a more interesting way to play through the game a second time while I go through to experience the classic voice acting and all that. This is actually the 4th seed I've rolled. Initially, I was using the safe preset, so that, because I don't know any, like, speedrunning glitches or tech or anything like that, so basically, I don't know any of the tricks that let you sequence break this game, so if I didn't use the safe preset, I was a little worried about getting roadblocked somewhere, but I'll talk more about this in a bit.
Alucard, what is your business here?
I've come to put an end to this.
Still befriending mortals. I'll not ask you to return to our side, but I demand you cease your attack.
I will not.
You shall regret those words. We will meet again. What?
So it's not surprising and kind of makes sense that the graphics of the items he steals from you, it's the same, it looks like all the same stuff that you should have at this point, rather than what I had. But I actually have a weapon, since one of those zombies dropped one, so that's good. Not a bad starting one, either. Speaking of which, well, I'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to comment on how I think it's interesting, some of the differences with translation there. Like, Death's dialogue here is more overtly threatening and stuff than it was in the fan retranslation. What's this item again? Life apple. Is that just a healing item? Probably. Oh. That's not the auto-revive item, is it? I don't know. I don't remember. Might be. At any rate, Death's dialogue originally, like, rather than saying, like, you know, he says, I demand you cease your attack, and, like, in the Japanese retranslation that I saw, the retranslation based on the Japanese version, he doesn't he's not demanding in anything he says. Like, yeah, he doesn't want, I mean, he still doesn't want you to attack and stuff, but he's not as forceful about it. He's a lot more, he's very polite to Dracula's son here. And, he doesn't say, like, anything about, like, you'll regret it. He certainly doesn't say you'll meet again. Quite the opposite, in fact. It's implied that the reason he's stealing your crap is to stall you. And, you know, that's like with this translation, I remember the first time I saw that scene, I wondered kind of like, why doesn't Death just fight you? Why doesn't he just end you here? Oh, wow, I got a familiar right off the bat. That's cool. And it makes more sense than if, like, the way that it was kind of phrased originally was not... He doesn't say anything about you regretting it, or, like... There is an air of... a slight air of, like, threatening that you can read into it, but it's much more subdued and subtle. And it doesn't imply you'll meet again. He's hoping for the opposite. Like, he actually says something about, you know, hoping you'll reconsider. I guess in, like, the time for it that it takes you to track down all the stuff he just stole from you. So that is, like, the entire reason he's stealing all your crap, is because he doesn't want to fight or kill you. Nice. He's hoping that you'll just leave. So, that's interesting. Now, this is the 4th randomizer seed I've rolled, and if this goes poorly, I might just have to go forward with it. Jewel Knuckles, okay. I was a little nervous there for a second. I was like, what is this gonna drop? It says higher offensive power, but a short range, so that kind of balances it a bit. I might put them both on for now. So, the seeds I've rolled so far, this is the 4th one. In the first one I rolled, I right off the bat, like, immediately got a Chakram weapon, which... Oh yeah, there's no point in going up there right now. Oh, what's over here, though? I forget. Oh, it's just a save point. Chakram's kind of broken for the start of the game, because it was killing everything pretty easily, and, I could kind of do it from, like, a safe distance to boot. And then as soon as I got past the second boss, the game gave me diamond armor. So it was just like, oh, I guess I just win now. I thought that'd be kind of too easy, too boring. Like, that was the whole point of the randomizer, was to make things more interesting. So, I mean, this is kind of a strong starting weapon too, but it's not as bad. Not quite as broken. I don't know. Plus I don't have diamond armor. The second seed I rolled, that candle that I broke that gave me these knuckle weapons, that gave me diamond armor in the second seed. In the third seed, I got the form of a bat transformation, right where I got my familiar in this seed. And also, where that area I jumped into, where I got this weapon, the holy staff thing, rod, whatever, that had the frickin' Morn blade in it. So, like, all 3 of the first randomizer seeds I rolled were just like, we're just gonna give you super nice stuff right off the bat. Just make the game a cakewalk, right not? Why not? But, so this is the 4th one I rolled, hoping that I would get a seed that wouldn't be too ridiculously easy. This rod might almost be too good as a starting weapon too, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna roll with it, because I don't want to have to sit there re-rolling randomizer seeds forever. Plus, this is the 4th time I've re-recorded basically the same commentary. I want to just move forward. I don't know how commentary is going to be throughout this too much. Wait, is there any reason to go up here yet? I forget if I can actually get anything up here yet. It's been a while since I recorded anything. Yeah, I think the last major thing I recorded was actually, like, last year. Hasn't been, good opportunities where I both... Like, if it's not one thing, it would be another, you know? Like, I would physically not feel super great. Like, not, like, bad, you know? Not, like, nothing like, when I got really sick and had to be in the hospital. Nothing like that, thankfully, but still sometimes feeling, you know, a little crappy or sick, you know, whatever, some bug, or just really tired and lethargic for some reason. Maybe, I was just too busy. Other times, had some family crap going on, which which both made me busy and also made me really not feel like doing this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I actually sat down and recorded anything again. So we'll see how commentary is going to go. I've noticed lately I've been involved in some group stuff, like co-commentating with some people on things. And, feels like I've gotten pretty rusty on commentating. I find it pretty hard to come up with things to talk about sometimes, so we'll see how this goes. I had a lot to talk about right off, you know, from the start, because of, you know, well, I just started. Naturally, I'll have some things to say about, you know, like... Anyway, first boss. Let's see, how easily this goes with this weapon. I could try and fight him with the knuckle, but that might be kind of rough. Does a lot of damage, though. Also have the familiar there. Yeah, he's already dead. Come down and fight me, you coward. Maybe I should just stick with the rod. It's got a nice safe distance, like, range on it, and I can use it very rapidly, but it's also not quite as ridiculously high attack power as these knuckles. Oh, I don't know if I don't recall if I fully mentioned it or not. Initially, the first 3 randomizer seeds that I rolled with a safe mode preset, because I think I did mention this already, but so I'm probably just repeating myself, but I lose track a little bit because this is the 4th time I'm recording some of this, so, you know. I was using a safe mode preset since I don't know all the tricks that can, like, sequence break and stuff, so I didn't want to get just stonewalled by, like, having something vital locked in an area that I can't get to it at, because I would need to know some glitch or trick, I don't know. This time I turned off the safe mode preset. That's one thing I don't know if I mentioned. Just because all 3 of the seeds I rolled so far in that preset ended up ridiculously easy with some of the starting stuff I had, you know, right off the bat. Like the Morn Blade and Diamond Plate Mail and all that kind of stuff, so I turned off the safe mode preset and just hoped that things would be a little less ridiculously in my favor this time around. That the randomizer wouldn't just keep making the game easier than it even originally is. Because the whole point was making this a little more interesting. From a viewing perspective, I suppose, but also just for my own sake, because, like I said, I wanted to play through again, because I enjoyed the game so much, plus I wanted to see all the actual, like, English voice acting, but I just got through playing this game, so... not necessarily... well... yeah, honestly, maybe a little bit boring to just play through it immediately again without any kind of change whatsoever. Figured the randomizer would just be a nice little bit of spice to make it interesting. I have not played a lot of Castlevania games up until this point. It's another thing I could talk about right now, is that part of, like, the only Castlevania game I had played until fairly recently, in fact, was just the NES one, the very first one. And, oh boy, that was a time. I played it on the Wii Virtual Console some years ago, and got through it in its entirety without, you know, well, it was the Wii console, not the Wii U, so it didn't even have, like, the save state feature. So yeah, I got through the whole game without save states, but man, it was rough. Some parts of that game were pretty frustrating, and when it got to the end and was basically like, now try hard mode, I was like, no, screw you, I'm done. But, yeah, I hadn't played any other Castlevania games after that point, and I've wanted to, especially, like, some of the Metroidvanias like Symphony of the Night, but I just never got around to it. What got me to do it is Bloodstained coming out, because I backed that, figuring that it looked pretty cool to me, and I wanted to play it. Nah, I don't want to go there yet. But, I feel like I missed something back. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, I backed Bloodstained because it looked pretty cool to me, and it's cool to see. You know, Konami's been kind of a jerk of the company for a while, and it's nice to see that the guy who made the classic, like, Castlevania and Metroidvanias was doing this passion project, making his own game again outside of Konami. It's kind of like the whole Mighty Number 9 thing, except not terrible. So, you know. Anyway, Bloodstained actually, like, finally releasing recently, and seeing the trailer for it and stuff, I was like, ooh, I want to play that. But, you know, I was a little worried that, like, I've never played Symphony of the Night, and I kind of wanted to play that first. Especially, like, too, I've heard some people who played Bloodstained thought it was a lot better than Symphony of the Night. I believe I've heard that opinion. I can't speak to it myself since I haven't played Bloodstained yet, but I just know that possibility was kind of like... You know, even though I've always been able to go back and play older games and enjoy them, even having played newer ones and potentially better ones. But still, I figured if Bloodstained potentially truly is, you know, just like notably better... Ooh, is that what I think it is? Cube of Zoe. Is that just what that's called in the US version? Okay, yeah, it's literally just called the Materializer in the retranslation. So, okay, cool. I can actually get items from candles now. I figured in case Bloodstained really, truly is, like, that much better or anything, you know, I was thinking about how that could potentially make me not appreciate Symphony of the Night as much if I go back to it after playing Bloodstained. If I've never played Symphony of the Night and played Bloodstained first, you know? So I was just like, I want to play Symphony of the Night first. But then I know that there's some history tied to Symphony of the Night a little bit, particularly Rondo of Blood. I knew about that. I didn't used to know about that, but I knew about it, like, recently. As of recently, I knew about that. So I wanted to play Rondo of Blood first. And then also, I wasn't originally going to, but... Well, I guess I should start at... The real start is that when Bloodstained came out, I finally sat down and played Curse of the Moon. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is what just released. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon released probably like a year ago or something, I don't know. And I was told it was really good, but I hadn't gotten around to playing it yet. That one's an NES-style game. It's more like the NES Castlevanias, but... I finally sat down and played that, and... God, that game was good. I like that quite a lot more, honestly, than I like any other NES-style, like, classic... Any of the, like, compared to any of the non-Metroidvania Castlevanias, just like the classic, regular platformer ones, I like Curse of the Moon way more than I like those games. It was really well executed. It's great. Also, it's not unfairly hard, unlike the NES Castlevanias. Doing a specific challenge to get a specific one of the endings, essentially, is pretty dang difficult at certain points. I recall being stuck on the final boss for like an hour doing it that way, but otherwise, you know, the game's pretty fair and good, and just all around really good. I love Curse of the Moon. It's fantastic. But anyway, after that, I remember I was complaining a bit. Wait, what just happened? I stepped on the switch, did I not stand on it for long enough? It's supposed to lower the thing. Well, dang. Maybe I'll cut some backtracking out. I guess this gives me the option of looking around a bit, because I feel like I'm missing something. Like I didn't do something that I could have done. So I can verify if that's accurate in any capacity, I guess. Although I think maybe I did do everything. Well, I'll keep, yeah, I'll just backtrack a bit. Maybe end the video soon and resume where I was. is how I'll handle that. But anyway, yeah, so I was complaining in, like, a friend group chat about... I'm not complaining. Yeah, no, I wasn't really complaining, but more just commenting on how, like, you know, man, I was stuck in this, fight for, like, an hour, basically. It was, like, really hard, and I commented that it was, like, when you, Curse of the Moon was a lot more balanced and, like, much easier than the NES Castlevanias, but I argued that when you play the certain, like, challenge mode, it kind of... Not challenge mode, but just, like, when you play it a specific way so that you can get one of the endings, the stages are kind of longer, the checkpointing is less forgiving, and I was stuck on that one boss for an hour, so I was like, this really brings it up to, like, the NES... Okay, I need to get out of here, I'm gonna die. I argued that, like, it brought it up to the, kind of NES Castlevania level of difficulty. And, friend kind of rejected that idea a little bit, you know, it was like... like, I don't know, like, maybe, like, they thought maybe... Like, maybe the NES won Castlevania, but, like, they wondered if I'd ever played Castlevania 3, to which I was like, no, I haven't done that one yet. And they're like, oh, prepare for a very special kind of hell when you play that one. So I was like, alright, interesting. And, that actually got my curiosity piqued, especially because, like, I had just gotten... It ended up in this thing of just, like, I had to see how bad it was, because I had just been talking about how hard a time I had on that one boss. And then Castlevania 3 is supposed to be way harder than that, so I'm like, how hard is it really? I must know this. And, so I played it. Without save states. From start to finish. Mistakes were made, basically, is what I'm telling you. Because I was playing the US version too. That's another one where I actually have a fan retranslation of that applies to the Japanese version, which is interesting because the Japanese version has kind of better sound chip, I think, because it was made for, like, I forget, it was like an expansion with the NES, the Famicom system over in Japan that the US didn't have, or a different, I don't know, some weird difference with it. They were able to have different audio in that version of Castlevania 3 than they could actually do over here. But also Castlevania 3 in the US made questionable decisions in terms of changing the difficulty of a lot of things, changing how much damage various enemies do and stuff, to the point that at the end of the game, every single enemy in, like, the final stages, every single enemy does uniform damage, and they all do 4 units of damage, which effectively means that every single enemy, boss or normal, whatever, just like zombie, Medusa head, whatever, they all do more units of health, they do more damage than Dracula does. The final boss in the original version. Like, even Dracula, the final boss, will do 3 units of health, and, oh no, he's gonna kill me. I'm not prepared to deal with him. I have no armor or anything. I need to just... Yeah, I guess I haven't missed anything so far. I don't know. Anywho, yeah. Basically, all the enemies do, like, more damage than... The main point being, too, that, you could only survive 3 hits, because every enemy in the game, in the final stages, be they boss or normal enemy, takes off an entire 25% of your HP, of your max HP, so it's just, it's awful. Plus some of the stage design in that game is just terrible. And it wasn't so bad initially, but just, like, I remember stage 7 being really obnoxious and longer than it had any right to be, and then stage 8 can just go F itself. It's terrible, especially with the changes to the difficulty. I hated it. I was stuck on that stage for, like, I actually don't even know how long. Probably upwards of 2-3 hours at minimum. Could have been even longer, I don't know. I wasn't actively really timing it, so, but I know it was a very long time. I don't know why I pushed myself through on finishing it without save states, but that was a thing. Anyway, yeah, I played Castlevania 3 because of that, after I played Curse of the Moon. Then I played Rondo of Blood, because I wanted to play that, and that's my favorite classic-style Castlevania that's actually Castlevania, and not like Curse of the Moon. Rondo of Blood was pretty good, and more fair. It still had some hard bits, for sure. There was one single part of that game that I considered really kind of BS, but still, you know, manageable. Still more fair than anything in the NES games, so I liked that game. It was fun. And playing Castlevania 3 and Rondo of Blood gave me more appreciation for certain things in this game, which was cool. Even though I shouldn't have. Even though for Castlevania 3, I really should have just played the fan-translated Japanese version, and probably used save states, because F that game sometimes. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna stop this video for now and get back to where I fell off from. Oops. See you next time.